Hey out there, admins, how we doing? We had a cold week last week. I got sent home. I wasn't allowed to be on the road most of last week, so I did get some work done. Some of those reports that we have to do every month. Real quick, I just want to cover a few things. We are officially into February, so that election process has started. Uh, I have sent out and passed emails, and so has Moose International, the election handbook. We need to make sure we're going through that and doing the process properly. And it is important to do that process properly, especially now that we have more members in the lodge that are eligible. It truly only takes somebody reporting to Moose International or myself that something wasn't done right in the process, and we'd have to start all over from the very beginning again. And if we don't think that's not going to happen, it happened about 3 or 4 lodges last year and about the same amount the year before. So we had lodges that had to end up having elections come July because it was so messed up and they didn't do things right. So let's not do that. Let's read that handbook and do the process properly. Um, a couple of things that on your end that we need to do. We need to make sure that we're posting that the election process has started and when those dates will take place, and that is in that form. You can copy and paste it and print it up. It's not hard. I suggest in there also where it has the abbreviated duties of each office to do that also. You can get the longer one off the hand out of the general laws, but those are pretty long. You're just kind of given the abbreviated version on there. And then if you want at the end, you can always stick in plus extra duty, see, the general laws book or what have you. Um, but we need to make sure our membership knows that the elections process is getting ready to start. Um, the nomination forms, there's not a specific form necessarily. There is a sample version in the handbook. It's very simple. I state my name, am putting my name in for consideration for whatever office. It's really simple to do. If you want, you can cut and paste in that one, but you can just print a simple one up. Here's the problem. You need to make sure you have these forms available. Bartenders need to know about them in case somebody wants to run for an office. Then they need to know where to put that nomination form. I don't care if there is a nomination box and you have a box setting out. I don't care if it's a smaller lodge and you say, well, I'll just slide them under the administrator's door. They need, if the administrator's door's office is locked and secure, that's a perfect place to put it. It's not a problem. Those nomination forms do need to be secured in some way, though. So if they're in a box, that box should be secured in a way that people just can't open it up and take nomination forms out of there also. It is very important that we realize who is eligible, and this should be repeated at meetings. And please don't say that women aren't eligible for certain positions. We're trying to get away from saying the woman part. They are now members of the lodge, and they are eligible just like other members for certain positions. And I know that we go over this all the time, but let me run through them real quick. They only have to be an active member, a current active member. They don't have to be a member for a certain amount of time to run for a trustee or a treasurer. So men and women are eligible. All members are eligible to run for that position. Vice president and chaplain, they have to be a member of the lodge for 6 months. So most women, unless they're a brand new member, and same thing for men, unless they're brand new members, are probably going to be eligible for that. The one has always been for president, formerly the governor. They have to have held a position, an elected office for 12 full months, a full year, by the time the elections would be over. So if we only had maybe 4 or 5 women that had actually took office and got dispensations and were officers right out of the gate come May 1st of last year. So there are very few women that are going to be eligible to run for that office. But please don't go saying women aren't eligible to run for president. Say members, all members have to have been in a position for 1 year to be eligible for president. So we got to quit saying the women aren't eligible. It's just members who want to run for president have to have been an officer for 12 months. And another thing that pops up, they don't have to be a current officer running and get their year in to run for president. If they were, a trustee 4 years ago and they did a full term, they are eligible to run for president now. Let's see. Then there's a big issue about scheduling the elections. The election should happen on the second meeting day, general membership meeting of April. Now, a lot of people are getting confused by the word Australian ballot and they don't understand what that means. If your lodge is doing one of those elections where you've got several hours to walk in and vote, I highly don't suggest that. We have too many lodges that are messing them up. And again, that makes them have to do the elections over again. In the general laws book, they should be happening during the actual general membership meeting, and that is the second meeting of the month in April. Your lodge can do an Australian ballot, but it must be voted on at a general membership meeting before that date. Then you have to let everybody know when it's happening. Now, we've had a few lodges in the last couple of years, like I said, 4 this past year, probably 3 or 4 the year before that didn't do it right. If you've had problems with your Australian ballot type election, you are not allowed to do it again unless you have permission from the chief compliance officer. So that takes a dispensation. If it's been messed up and you've had to redo an election, you have to get a dispensation. That's why I don't suggest doing the Australian ballot. I know it seems convenient for members because we're giving them several hours to walk in the lodge and you know, some of them work and all that kind of stuff. I get it. But we have too many people saying, well, you know, they left the ballot box unattended, or they didn't have an appointed approved person checking cards. We feel that the ballot box was stuffed, all that kind of stuff. That's why at a general membership meeting, everybody's in the room and they know who it was voted for, especially if you don't have a contested office. There's no sense in not doing it at a general membership meeting and just doing it by the sign of the order. If you do have a contested office, though, and you know it's going to be at a general membership meeting, go ahead and have ballots made up in advance. Those ballots can be private. No one needs to know about it. That's perfectly fine. I don't care if it's done that way. I'm just telling you, too many lodges have done the Australian ballot and messed up the procedures and had to have redone it or redo it all over again. So I don't suggest doing that. Now, let me go through the schedule real fast of how this should be going down, and you should be having this printed up in your lodge anyways. In the handbook, it says Wednesday. That's just a sample of a lodge that has their meetings on Wednesday. So I could be saying Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day your lodge is. It's not specifically when I say it's the fourth Wednesday of February. Does it have to be Wednesday? It's whatever date that meeting happens. So at the end of this month, what should be happening is on the fourth Wednesday, the report of the nominating committee time and place should be taking place. So the nominating committee should be together. There's a list in there who should be on the nominating committee, and it should be being reported to the general membership. Again, I'm telling you, if this isn't reported at a general membership meeting, and I don't care which officer on the board talks about it, but the general membership needs to know that there is a time and a place for nominating, putting their names in, and a time for an election. If we're skipping this, and it's not being said, and it's not in the minutes, all it takes is someone saying the process was done wrong, and we would have to start all over again. And you don't want that to happen. So the fourth Wednesday of February, technically the last week of the meeting of the month, more or less, you're going to have the report of the nominating committee, the time and place of those meetings so that everybody knows when they're taking place. The third Wednesday of March, so it'd be technically the third week of March, is the last day for members to submit their name and be considered for the nomination to the desired office. So basically, 1 week before your meeting, general membership meeting in March is when that should take place. There's a 7-day period so that the nominating committee can say, no, everybody's turned their name in, here it is. Now, the fourth Wednesday of March, so your second meeting of the month, general membership meeting, the nominating committee reports those who were nominated. Now, again, anybody can put their name in. The nominating committee can turn somebody down. First and foremost, if the person's not eligible, not in good standing with the lodge, hasn't been a member long enough and they're trying for an office that takes a certain amount of time. The nominating committee also could say, Bob Smith, he's been a member here for 5 years, but he's not done anything. Now, they shouldn't report that, but they should say, we don't feel that he's, volunteered for the lodge enough to be considered to run for an office. Because honestly, at that point, someone wants to run for an office, they should have already been volunteering around the lodge. They can't just walk in. And what more importantly we have is brand new people walk in and they want to run for an office and they're going to change this, they're going to change that. And I love the attitude sometimes, but they think they're going to change things with a whirlwind. They get in there, they don't really know anything about our organization, how the lodge runs. Then in 3 months, they're upset and they're off the board, because they didn't know the process. So someone brand new off the street shouldn't be running for an office anyways, even though technically that's an eligible, they're eligible. The nominating committee can always pass. They need to be polite about it though. But if they're passing on somebody and not nominating them, there should be a brief description as to why, and it should not be a rude description. Okay, the first Wednesday of April. Now we're into April now, and that would be the first meeting. The last day for those eligible to submit petitions to the administrator. So if someone was not nominated, the last Wednesday of the general membership meeting, someone can go get a petition. Again, that if they want to talk to the administrator or an officer, they can get online and they can see the process for petitioning. But the first meeting in April, the week after, is the last chance they have to put that in. Then the second Wednesday of April, or the second general membership meeting, that's when the election should be taking place. So the last meeting in April. Now, there are some lodges that need to kind of watch this because they might meet on the second and fourth week of the month and not the first and third. And the way April kind of falls, if you're the fourth day of the month is really close to the end of the month. So you need to realize if you're one of those ones, especially if you're like Wednesday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, you're meeting at the very end of the month, and those officers need to be taking over on May 1st. So you need to kind of watch that. So you may want to even maybe do the installation of those new officers that night so they can take over come May 1st. So just kind of keep an eye on that. But the last meeting in April should be when the general election is happening. Again, I suggest that it take place during a general membership meeting and just do by sign of the order, unless you have a contested race, and then I would do ballots just to be safe. And then those officers will take over on May 1st. Again, please read the election handbook. I've already spent 12 minutes on that, but elections are kind of important, and I know it's going to happen this year. Somebody's going to complain. The lodge is not going to have proper minutes taken. The process is going to be messed up in some way, and we're going to have to redo an election, and that just becomes norm in May. So please just follow those processes, please. Also, I want to talk real quick about Heart of the Community and orientations and enrollments. We have some new administrators out there, but again, we're now officially into February, so we are now past the third quarter. So Heart of the Community, for the third quarter, you have until the 15th of this month to put anything in for Heart of the Community. Now, we're having some issues there. Please don't wait until the 15th and I have to give you a phone call. We should be entering stuff into Heart of the Community all along. And again, I know I'm always reiterating this to administrators that have been around for a long time. We get lots of complaints thinking that it's just more paperwork that Moose International is putting on us. That's why we have to fill that out. It is not true. That is one way we report our charitable works. And we get to keep our private status as an organization. We have had the IRS walking into lodges now wanting proof of what they've been doing. Also, because we're getting a little bit more strict on dispensations and making sure you're having dispensations for fundraisers. We have lodges that are creating events or asking for dispensations for fundraisers for certain events, and then they're not reporting in QuickBooks or Heart of the Community that they've done these projects. Well, the chief compliance officer, the first thing they're going to do is go back and look at your Heart of the Community to see that, you've asked for 4 dispensations for dances and you were doing a charity for, hospice, for the local pet port, for the local baseball team, high school baseball team, whatever it might have been. And then they're saying that's not being reported in Heart of the Community. More importantly, after that, then they're also going and checking QuickBooks to see if there had been a check written to that organization, and some lodges are not doing that. you're going to get in a lot of trouble. So we got to make sure we're filling out Heart of the Community. And then when we're filling out those dispensations, whatever charity organization we're doing that event for, there needs to be a check written to them. Now, again, sometimes the lodge can be the organization keeping the money, so that's perfectly fine. But we need to watch what we're doing when we're doing those dispensations and saying we're going to donate money to another organization. Also, orientations and enrollments. Again, that needs to be listed in LCL. There has to be a minimum of 6 done throughout the year, so that's 1 every other month. We have lodges, again, that are trying to do 2 in 1 month. You're not going to get those approved. We cannot do 2 in 1 month. We want them spread out more. When they're trying to do back-to-back, people are trying to make up for them. Can't do that. Now, specifically on orientations is what I like more than enrollments, but it's whichever the lodge wants to do. But I know some new administrators don't understand what orientations are. That's simply having brand new members come in and giving them kind of the spiel about what the Moose organization is, what your lodge does. It's unique to your lodge. So let them know what community events you donate money to. Let them understand what the daily, weekly, monthly drawings are, because they may have never been a member of a club before, so they don't know what those are. What your food specials are, what upcoming events you have. That's all. You're just kind of orientating them to the lodge. I have a lot of people ask when that should be done. You can do it at any time, but what I always suggest is like right before or right after a general membership meeting. Maybe give them some moose bucks for showing up, and so maybe they get a free meal or can get a something from the lodge for showing up. Now, I have lodges not reporting them because nobody showed up. If you've offered it, you still get credit for it. So even if you've offered it and no one showed up, you still get credit for offering it. You need to be putting it in your newsletter, on a sign in the bathroom, on your social media, whatever you're doing. Because when you now put it into LCL and you said it was on this certain date, my job is to check either through a newsletter or social media, walk in the lodge, see if it was posted somewhere, to see that you offered it. That's when you get approval and a credit for it. So that's when I'm walking around the lodge looking for things like that, or when I'm walking around, that's kind of one of the things I'm looking for. So we need to make sure we're at least offering it. The more consistent we are about it, and some lodges do it every month. They do it, before their first meeting, and they can put in 12 in. They're getting credit for 12. What I'm not going to do is give you credit, and we're not allowed to, if you're doing it on the first meeting and the second meeting of the month in 1 month to try to double up to get caught up to 6. We're not going to approve those orientations. So once a month, and we still have time. If you've had one and haven't put it in, you can backdate that into LCL. If you know the dates and say it's the first Monday of every month, you can go ahead and schedule those and put those in going forward to the end of this year too. So you have time to get your 6 in if you've done a couple. We're now in February, so there's only March and April left. So if you haven't done any at all, you're not going to get credit for your Premier Lodge, but still please put those in, because then we'll start making a habit, and that will roll over into the summer and the fall of next year. So we need to make sure we're making that a habit. I went really long, went 18 minutes, but they were important subjects. Everybody have a good week, and I will see some of you very soon. Take care.